It's time for another episode of Pottawattamie County Routes. Hi, I'm Todd Studer. Are you a history buff like me? Do you enjoy learning more about the way things used to be? Well, we're going to find out because that's what this show is about. I did a deep dive and learned a little bit more about Pottawattamie County, about our history, about even going back to before people were here, and then all the way up to, well, pretty close to the present day. I didn't think you needed me telling you what happened yesterday. So we're going to do a roll down history lane here on Pottawattamie County Routes, and we are going to learn some more about the county that we live in. But first, if you have a leak, a clogged drain, or planning a big remodel, Waldstein Plumbing in Council Bluffs has you covered with fast, reliable service and expert craftsmanship, handling everything from small repairs to major installations. Locally owned and trusted, taking pride in doing the job right the first time. So if it's residential or commercial, big or small, when plumbing problems strike, give Waldstein Plumbing a call. WaldsteinPlumbing.com is their website. And Service Master Restored by Schmader knows it's hard to get back to normal when you've suffered serious property damage due to flooding, fire, or smoke, and it leaves you with all sorts of questions. How are you going to get your home or business back to normal? Cindy's ready for your call. Service Master Restored by Schmader can restore your space. They offer quality commercial and residential restoration services all around Southwest Iowa. Call 402-339-9911. Before there was a county name, before there were towns, and long before there were roads, this land that we now call Pottawattamie County already had a story. Now, according to geological research summarized by the Iowa Geological Survey and the Iowa Department of Natural Resources, the land that would become Pottawattamie County was shaped thousands of years ago during the last ice age. As massive glaciers melted to the north, water rushed into the Missouri River Valley, carrying fine soil with it. So when the water slowed, strong winds picked up that soil and dropped it along the eastern side of the river. Now, over many years, those tiny particles piled up into steep hills made mostly of silt. And today, you know them. They're known as the Loess Hills. Scientists consider the Loess Hills one of the most unique landforms in North America. The fact is documented by the Iowa Department of Natural Resources and repeated in conservation and geological studies across the state. Only one other place in the world, in China, has loess deposits as deep and continuous as those found in western Iowa. Now, these hills shaped everything that came next. They affected where water flowed, where plants grew, and where people could travel. Long before maps existed, the land itself guided movement. So, archaeological evidence shows that people lived in this area thousands of years ago. Information compiled by the Iowa Gen Web Project and Early County Histories explains that the earliest people were hunters and gatherers who followed animals and seasonal plants. They moved with the land, not against it. And rivers like the Missouri provided food, water, and a natural path for travel. Camps formed along riverbanks and in protected valleys. Over time, people learned how to live with the cycles of flood, drought, and changing seasons. Later, more permanent cultures developed. Now, according to archaeological research summarized by the State Historical Society of Iowa, a group known as the Glenwood culture lived in this region roughly between the years 900 and 1300. These people built earth lodge homes, farmed crops like corn, and used the land in organized ways. They understood the soil, the hills, and the river. Other Native American tribes connected to this land include the Odo, Omaha, Missouri, Iowa, and Dakota Sioux. These connections are documented in early Iowa histories and tribal records. Now, the county's name, Pottawattamie, comes from the Pottawattamie people. County government records explain that the name is commonly translated as keepers of the council fires. While the Pottawattamie were part of a wider regional presence rather than living only here, their name reflects the deep native roots of the area. For thousands of years, this land was not empty. It was known, used, and respected. Well, European contact came much later. French fur traders were among the first Europeans to move through the region in the early 1700s. According to early Iowa histories preserved through the Iowa Gen Web Project, these traders followed river routes and traded with native tribes. They did not settle permanently at first. They just passed through. The first detailed written descriptions of the area came in 1804 during the Lewis and Clark expedition. Journals from that expedition that are now maintained by the University of Nebraska in Lincoln describe the tall bluffs rising above the Missouri River near this location. Those same journals make it clear that the famous council meeting with native leaders happened on the west side of the river in what is now Nebraska. Still, the explorers' observations placed this area firmly on American maps. After Lewis and Clark, more explorers, traders, and soldiers followed. Military posts were established nearby to manage trade and maintain order along the frontier. These details appear in early territorial histories and military records from the region. The presence of the United States was becoming permanent. In 1833, the United States government negotiated what became known as the Pottawattamie Purchase. According to early Iowa land records and county histories, this agreement opened millions of acres in western Iowa to American settlement. Native tribes were forced to give up their land and move west, and this moment marked a turning point. Surveyors arrived soon after. They divided the land into neat sections and townships. The prairie became property. Ownership replaced tradition. Pottawattamie County was officially organized by the Iowa legislature in 1848, the same year Iowa became a state. This information comes directly from county government records. At first, the county was large and lightly populated. That would change quickly. One of the most important chapters in the county's history arrived with people who did not plan to stay forever. In 1846, members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints were forced from their homes in Nauvoo, Illinois. Local histories maintained by Pottawattamie County and the State Historical Society of Iowa describe how thousands of Mormon families crossed Iowa in wagons, and when they reached the Missouri River, many stopped. Along the east bank of the river, they built camps and settlements to rest, regroup, and prepare for the journey west. This area became one of the largest temporary communities in the Midwest. The main settlement was first called Miller's Hollow. It was later renamed Canesville in honor of Thomas L. Kane, who advocated for the Mormons in Washington. These name changes are documented in county records and Mormon trail histories. And at its peak, Canesville and nearby camps held thousands of people. Population estimates from county histories placed the number at several thousand during the late 1840s. The area became a major supply point for westward travel. Wagons were repaired, food was gathered, decisions were made about when and how to move on. For several years, Pottawattamie County sat at the center of America's westward migration. In 1852, church leaders directed most Mormon settlers to continue on to Utah. And according to church records and Iowa histories, the majority left, but some stayed behind and the settlement remained. Well, in 1853, Canesville was renamed Council Bluffs. County histories explain that the name came from earlier explorer references to the bluffs along the Missouri River. And as new settlers arrived, Council Bluffs grew into a permanent town. Steamboats traveled the river, bringing goods and people. Farmers brought crops from the countryside. Businesses opened, schools and churches were built, and across the county, farming families claimed land and worked the soil. Rich, lush soil made agriculture productive. Corn, livestock, and other crops became the backbone of the local economy. Small towns formed throughout Pottawattamie County. Many grew along transportation routes. Each town had its own identity, but all were connected by trade and geography. And then came the railroads. Before railroads, travel was slow. Rivers froze in the winter, and wagons took weeks to cross the plains. Railroads changed everything. According to railroad histories preserved by the Rails West Railroad Museum and National Historic Marker documentation, rail lines reached Council Bluffs in the late 1860s. In 1869, the first transcontinental railroad was completed, connecting the Midwest to the West Coast. Council Bluffs was designated as the eastern terminus. This decision transformed the city. Passengers transferred trains here. Freight moved through rail yards. Jobs multiplied. The county became tied directly into national trade and travel. Railroads also shaped which towns grew and which faded. Communities with rail access often thrived. Those without it struggled to survive. While Council Bluffs grew into a rail and trade center, most of Pottawattamie County remained rural. Farming defined daily life. Families worked the land across generations. Schools, churches, local governments all anchored communities. County government grew alongside population. Courthouses and public buildings reflected stability and organization. Information about early county buildings comes from local government histories and architectural records. Now, one unusual structure from this era, and you know about it, is the Squirrel Cage Jail in Council Bluffs, which was built in the late 1800s. Its rotating design reflected new ideas about incarceration. Today, it stands as a reminder of the county's civic past. But in the early 1900s, the county had settled into a steady rhythm. Even as small towns and farms expanded, the land itself continued to shape life. The Luss Hills influenced where farming was possible and where it was not. Steep slopes limited plowing but supported grazing and wildlife. In the 20th century, attention turned toward preservation, and according to Pottawattamie County Conservation Board records, Hitchcock Nature Center was established to protect prairie, forest, and hill ecosystems. The preserve reflects a growing awareness that the land itself is part of the county's heritage. Conservation efforts aimed to balance farming, development, and natural systems. So, by the middle of the 20th century, Pottawattamie County was no longer a frontier or a temporary stop. It was home. Highways replaced railroads as the main transportation routes. Council Bluffs grew alongside Omaha, forming a shared metro area while still remaining part of Iowa. Floods along the Missouri River shaped infrastructure decisions. Farming modernized and industry changed. By the end of the 20th century, the county carried layers of history. Ancient hills shaped by ice and wind, native cultures that lived with the land, settlers who passed through and those who stayed, railroads that tied the county to the nation, communities that adapted and endured. According to county records, state historical summaries, and regional conservation documentation, Pottawattamie County's story is not defined by one moment. It's defined by a movement, people passing through, people staying, people building something lasting. This county was never just a stop on the way west. It became a place people chose to call home. Sources for this episode include Pottawattamie County Government Records, the Iowa Gen Web Project, the State Historical Society of Iowa, Lewis and Clark Expedition Journals maintained by the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, railroad history preserved by the Rails West Railroad Museum, and regional conservation records. And we thank all of them for doing such a great job at preserving our history and helping me put together this little show about the history of Pottawattamie County. Primrose Retirement Community in Council Bluffs believes home should be a place of comfort, connection, and care. From personalized support and engaging daily activities, everything they do is designed to help residents live fully and confidently. At Primrose, that's their priority, to put the quality of their residents' care and daily needs at the top of their list each day and every day. It's not just about where you live, it's about how you live. Learn more about life at Primrose Retirement Community at primroseretirement.com. Contact Jamie Bush at Primrose and discover a place that truly puts people first. Here on Pottawattamie County Routes, we explore the places that make our region home and the people who keep them connected. That is why we are proud to feature Marnie Elkhorn Communications, your local communications provider, serving Marnie, Elkhorn, Walnut, Avoca, and other southwest Iowa towns with high-speed fiber internet, reliable phone service, and TV options built for rural living. With real local support and unlimited data plans, you get speeds up to 1 gig to work, stream, and stay in touch with family and neighbors. Visit metc.net to learn more and get connected today. And families and cemeteries across the region turn to Solid Ground Monument Company for skilled restoration that protects every story etched in stone. Now scheduling springtime services, the company provides monument repair, gentle cleaning, full reconstruction, and complete cemetery restoration. For families needing a new memorial, Solid Ground Monument Company comes to you in your time of need to design a tribute that truly honors your loved one. At Southwest Iowa's trusted cemetery restoration and monument service. Solid Ground Monument Company, preserving legacies with care and craftsmanship. Again, thank you to all of the online resources that helped me find the information to put this show together. And also thanks to you for sitting in with me and learning a little bit more about the county in which we live. My name's Todd Studer. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning.